Welcome to the Workplace Wellbeing Essential Series. I'm Mari Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Advancing Wellness. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this expert interview where we explore topics that impact employee well-being. My guest today is Carol Marzouk. Carol is known as the Executive Lion Tamer. She's an internationally recognized business relationship speaker, coach, and behavioral strategist. Carol restores peace by extracting poor behavior that destroys trust and obstructs progress. She is a bilingual business relationship speaker, coach, and CEO of Leadership and Soul, which has also come to be known as Therapy for Business. She has spent most of her career inspiring leaders and teams to impact the bottom line while retaining their soul and integrity. She's known for her unconventional methods to get real results and help clients take immediate action, leaving the theory in the office. She has the ability to go into an organization and dig out what is festering and allow fresh perspectives and new growth to take place. Her engaging and down-to-earth style accentuates her practical, real-world, customized approach. Carol, I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here, Mari. Thank you. It's such an honor.
Well, thank you. So let's dig into this topic a little bit. We're going to talk today about work cultures and specifically toxic work cultures. They can be exhausting, emotionally exhausting, and demoralizing to the employees that are stuck in these situations. And this is regardless of whether it's the drama, the bully, the politics, whatever it may be. And I've certainly had my share of places where I've worked that have had a toxic culture, and it is undoubtedly bad for everyone's well-being. So, Carol, I'd love to have you talk a little bit so our audience can understand, how do we recognize a toxic workplace when you're in one? And, well, maybe let's just start by identifying some of the characteristics of what makes a workplace toxic.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mari, before we dive into that, I'd like to just explain how terrible this situation actually is in the US and worldwide. We are spending upwards of $550 billion in active disengagement costs or costs because of the toxicity in the workplace per year. And that's just in the US. Wow. 87% of the global workforce was actually disengaged before this whole COVID-19 crisis. We are finding that disengaged employees are still outnumbering the engaged employees 2-to-1.
Wow.
I mean, it's a big deal. And the worst part, and this is where my mission comes in, is that 65% of people managers, including senior executives, CEOs, managing partners at law firms, surgeons that have people or doctors reporting to them and staff report, 65% of them are disengaged. So you can imagine the cascade effect, right? When a manager is disengaged, especially since most of us leave our job because of our direct manager.
Right.
So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, because it really affects the profitability of our company. We know that highly profitable companies have 50% more engaged employees versus unprofitable companies. We know that teams with high levels of engagement sell over 20% more than teams with low engagement. So, the bottom line is disengaged employees drag down the overall company performance. And so I just wanted to throw that out there because we are bleeding money there.
Yeah, I appreciate the context for that, because I think really helping people see that, this is a huge cost. It is impacting profitability for organizations, and it's impacting people's lives because their well-being is compromised.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So So let's talk now about the 4 different types of engagement so that you can understand how people can progress through them, either upwards or downwards. There are 2 types of engagement and 2 types of disengagement. So let's talk about just disengaged employees. What do you think, Mari? What do you think a disengaged employee looks like?
Oh, they're surfing the web. They're out on cigarette breaks. They're standing at the water cooler causing trouble.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's sometimes very difficult to spot these guys because they're not hostile, they're not disruptive, right? They show up and they kill time. I always think of it as, you know, I'm sure you've encountered, even at the mall or somewhere you go in and it feels like the person just took their physical body to bed, but they left their physical body to bed. They took their physical body to work and they left their soul in bed, right? Like they're just zombies.
Yeah.
And they have no concern for customers. They have no concern for their productivity. They contribute to a lot of waste in the systems. It's a lot of that kind of checked out mentality. So that is disengaged. So what do you think just engaged folks look like?
Oh, they're enthusiastic, they're positive, they have energy, they bring energy into the room when they're in a conversation.
Yes. They build an organization. They are behind everything good that happens there. They not only meet expectations, but sometimes they exceed expectations. You can count on them. And they're 100% psychologically committed to their work. So they create a lot of new customers. So we've talked about now engaged and disengaged. And so now we want to look at both extremes on both sides. So now we've got actively disengaged or toxic employees. So what do you think that looks like?
Those would be the people that are making disparaging comments. They're berating them, other people, probably their managers. They're just unpleasant to be around, I would think.
Yeah, it's very interesting. They tend to monopolize most of the manager's time because they're the squeaky wheel. They're always complaining. They actually have more on-the-job accidents, which is a problem for a lot of companies. They account for more quality defects. They call in sick. They contribute to shrinkage or theft. They quit, of course, at a higher rate than engaged employees do. Of course, I'm called in when they don't quit, and they want them to quit, right? But they're basically, here's an analogy that works right now with this whole COVID-19 crisis that we're going through. When someone sneezes, when someone has a virus or the flu, and they sneeze on you, right? They're like, achoo! And everything just spreads right on you. You feel disgusted. You want to take a shower. You know that it hit you. You have germs all over you, and it feels gross, right? You felt it. The danger with the toxic employees is that they're sneezing on you with every comment that they make. Right? They're like a virus. Every comment is like a little germ. And they make these comments throughout the workday. And so little by little, they start creating these negative cohorts. And then these negative cohorts have a common enemy. And so it brings them together. And we've all heard of like mean girls. So these people, because they have a common enemy, it's really difficult to then separate them again, because then they'll be ostracized or they'll be on the other side of it and they'll, get bullied or whatever it is. But this is what happens. One creates another one and another one and another one. And we've done a lot of studies around, looking at engaged employees and engaged groups. What happens when you bring in one toxic employee to a group of 20 engaged employees. And we've noticed that the engaged employees are now 54% more likely to leave.
Wow.
Yeah. And, why do you think that is, Mari?
Well, it's probably like a social contagion factor, if we're going to carry the germ metaphor, is that the toxicity spreads.
Yeah. And also the toxicity spreads, right? And they don't want it anymore. It's affecting their personal life. It's affecting their joy at work. When they wake up in the morning, they're not happy to go to work anymore. But here's what people don't think about. These people that are giving their heart and soul to the company, that are engaged, that are trying to create more, these people see their managers tolerating this.
Right.
They see their managers not doing anything about it, right? And if they are, it's not being talked about, right? It's so what's happening is the optics of it can can destroy the morale and the cohesion that existed in the team before.
That's fascinating. Those statistics are really, really telling and alarming almost that it's so high. So I'm curious when we think about these toxic type situations, how does this impact the well-being of the people who are in that situation?
Well, when it comes to the people in that situation, apart from them wanting to leave as soon as possible, what happens is that they start losing faith in their boss. They start losing faith in the company. And Mari, right now, even before this crisis, we had about 75% of the US employees looking for another job while they were employed.
Right.
And so imagine that. And now you've got somebody that is toxic on your team, who's constantly looking for the negative, and who's basically sneezing on you with every negative comment that they make. And so that undermining of their joy in work actually starts to make them sick. And now we start to see that the healthy people, the engaged people, are now calling in sick. Right. And now they're less productive. And now they're exhibiting all of the same things that we see in the disengaged folks, or the actively disengaged or toxic folks. So it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Well, I'm curious from your perspective, if someone finds themselves, whether they're a manager or an employee, if they find themselves in this kind of situation, what can they do as being an individual that's in that setting?
So the first thing I would say is that let's help them aim to understand rather than judge, right? Or if I'm talking to the person themselves, right? I would help them understand why these things might be happening with this toxic person or these toxic people. It never really arises out of confidence. It never arises out of love and trust. It arises out of doubt and fear. Right? And so these people that are behaving this way, there is something inside them that feels very insecure. And we can't give what we don't have. Right. And so if we don't have it inside us, if we don't have that security and that trust and that love and that engagement and that loyalty and all of those things that we want in employees, if we don't have that inside of us, how do we give it to somebody else?
So true.
So, right. So then what happens is, okay, well, I'm going to try to become part of a greater cohort, right? I'm going to try to belong in some way because it's a very lonely place. So first, and then, then the negative cohorts and all that can happen. So I would say the very first thing is, let's first understand what's underneath the iceberg of this person, because we're all icebergs and they only see the behavior that's on top, right? But there's so many things going on underneath: our beliefs, our values, our where we grew up, what we were told, what we learned, all of these things that now affect our behavior. There's a lot that we don't know or see in people. So let's just stop judging for a second and aim to understand where this toxicity is coming from. The second thing I would say is elevate trust through warmth and competence. So you, by being able to do that yourself, right, to kind of overcome the sneezing, overcome that virus, and be the voice of trust and reason, by being warm and competent in what you do, I think that helps a lot. If you're a manager, I would say, and this I would say for any manager, is have a daily huddle with your team at the beginning of the day, 10 minutes at the beginning of the day. The other thing I would say is, if you're a manager, know who the people are in your organization that have other people's ears. Those people that if they say something, everybody else rallies around it.
Right.
Know who those people are and find out from them how, what the pulse is in the company. And find out where your folks are in the engagement process. I can give you 4 really quick questions if we still have time that, people can ask or people could figure out about these employees. Would you like that? Or
sure. Yeah. Let's cover that. I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So one of the things that you can ask the employees are, what are you getting from this role? Right? Because that's the lowest level of engagement is what are they what are they feeling about what they're getting from this role? Are they becoming more employable? Are they learning new skills? Are they helping people in need? What is it that they're getting from it? The second question is, what are you contributing? And are you being valued for it, right? Do you feel that we're valuing you for it? The third question is, do I belong? Our brain tends to differentiate people that are in the in group versus people that are in the out group. And if you're in the in group, you get a lot of trust and you can say the same joke as somebody in the out group and it'll be fine. So, this sense of belonging, right? We want them to feel that they belong so that they don't look for the negative cohorts that exist.
Right.
And then the last one is, what are you doing to make improvements and to innovate? Because we didn't talk about the actively engaged folks, but the actively engaged folks are the innovators. They're the ones that really treat your company like it's theirs. And they're always looking for ways to take the company forward. So that fourth question is really important. That's the highest level of engagement. What can I do to make improvements and innovate? Or what can you do? So if you have your employees asking themselves these 4 questions, and if you're constantly keeping a pulse on those, I think that you're in good shape.
Well, Carol, I love your thoughts on this. It ties so closely to the well-being models that we use, where people, where we're really looking for cultures where people can feel connected to a purpose, where they feel valued for the work that they do, they feel cared for, they feel that sense of belonging or connection. And all of those things, as you say, will create that culture where people really want to work.
Yep.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all that. I'm just curious about, from your experience, do you see that, you talked a little bit about, how some of this in these toxic settings, some of the behaviors, basically get ignored. And, there's like no consequences for bad behavior. I'm wondering if managers and leaders become enablers of these toxic work cultures.
Yes, they do. They become enablers. And with 65% of them being disengaged themselves, you can imagine, right? Not only are they enablers, it's, they're actually modeling the behavior that we don't want. And I think one of the biggest issues too is that we have a lot of senior executives that report to the CEO. So these are like, the core team that are also not only disengaged because they are poorly prepared for their roles. They don't want to ask, for guidance because they feel like they should know. And so they become insecure. They want excessive control, a whole bunch of different things. But also, Mari, they become bullies. Yeah. And that's a really big problem that I'm seeing. So not only are they enabling, they actually are really hurting people.
Mm.
with their actions.
Wow. Well, that's not good, because certainly that's going to be stressful for everybody that's involved in those situations. So I'm curious, what can employers do when they see this going on in their culture, or they sense that there's toxicity in the workplace? What can the employer do to, to take charge and make sure that the appropriate behavior is exemplified and modeled in the workplace?
Thanks for asking. I think, what I've come across in my 29 year or now 30 years of doing this is that most of the time employers wait until the problem is really bad because
Yeah.
they feel like, oh, it's the people issue. I don't want to touch it. It's sticky. It's, ugh, I don't want to, I don't want to deal with it. And if I don't deal with it, it'll go away.
Right.
And of course it doesn't.
It doesn't.
So the first thing I would say is, before it becomes a problem, let's design your culture. And there are a lot of us that can do this, right? You don't have to come to me. A lot of us can help with this, but let's design the culture that you want so that you don't have a culture by default that can create these problems. Challenge the status quo. You're a senior executive or manager, or somebody important in this company. Challenge the status quo and be the leader. Show up as the leader and say, we are changing things. As hard as they are, we are going to change some things. And remember that it's not about being in charge. It's about leading the ones that are in charge. And making sure that you have the right people on the bus. Because if you don't, and you just keep, you keep hiring for skills or experience based on resume, but then you want to fire for attitude, why don't we just hire for attitude? Right. So that we don't have to, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure, skills and experience are important, sure. But if you hire someone with an attitude that, that can-do attitude, that positive mentality, they're going to learn a lot. They're going to bring other people into that mentality. I mean, it's just huge. So I would say, don't shy away from the people issues. Right. Have people that know what they're doing, help you deal with them head on, and do it as soon as possible.
Well, those are great suggestions, and certainly appropriate ones, since that's the role of a leader, is to take charge and take responsibility to ensure that everything is working the way it's supposed to, and absolutely essential when it comes to taking care of people.
Thank you.
I can absolutely see why your clients just adore working with you and the impact that you can have within organizations. If our audience wants to learn more about you, Carol, and the work that you're doing, where can they find you?
So executiveliontamer.com. They can also email me at carol@executiveliontamer.com. And my office number is 951-888-5857. And would you like me to give you my mobile too?
No need to. That's
okay.
They can reach you in the office.
Excellent. I love it, Mari. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your insights and the important work that you're doing, helping create better workplaces where everyone can thrive.
It's been an honor.
Thanks.